My mother, Eleanor, said that the plane tickets were $200 each. She told me if I couldn't afford it, I should stay behind. I nodded, and then my phone buzzed with an alert. My credit card had been used to purchase 4 business class tickets. I opened my banking app, disputed the charges, and locked the account. Later, my sister Vivian texted me. "Why is nothing paid for?" I replied, "What you said." I stayed behind, but I booked my own trip. The next day, my father, Arthur, showed up at my apartment. I didn't open the door. The tickets were $1,200 each. My mother had said, "If you cannot afford it, stay behind." I didn't argue. I just nodded, even smiled, like her words didn't sting. It was the 6th time in 2 years my family had made it clear that I didn't belong unless I paid for the privilege. She had said it so casually on speakerphone while I was still in my scrubs, sweating after a 12-hour shift at the city hospital. I had just finished working back-to-back night shifts to cover my rent and chip away at my student loans. They were all going to the Sunstone Islands. My mom, my dad, my sister Vivian, and her husband Marcus. It was a week-long family vacation. Business class, of course. "You know, we deserve this," she added. "It's been a rough year for everyone." Everyone. As if I wasn't part of that. As if I hadn't loaned Vivian $2,500 last April when Marcus lost his sales job, or covered Dad's medical deductible when his blood pressure spiked and he refused to go to the clinic because of the cost. I told her it was fine, that I'd stay behind. And then I went back to cleaning up vomit from a patient who tried to punch me for suggesting he lie down. Later that night, I got a ping on my phone. An alert from my credit card app for business class tickets, $200 each. My card, not my name. I opened the app. Passenger names: Vivian M., Marcus B., Eleanor M., Arthur M., no Abigail M. I stared at the screen for a full minute. My fingers went cold, my heart pounding. They had used my credit card again without asking, without telling me, just assuming I'd cover it like I always did. I didn't even get a window seat out of it. I tapped Dispute All and then locked the account. An hour later, I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed again. A text from Vivian. "Why is nothing paid for?" "We're at check-in." I wiped the toothpaste from my mouth, looked at the message, took a deep breath, and typed back, "What you said?" I stayed behind, but not in the way they expected. I booked my own getaway to somewhere warmer, quieter. No family, no obligations, no guilt. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. A call from my dad. I didn't answer. That afternoon, he showed up at my apartment and knocked like he owned the place. I didn't open the door. It didn't start with the tickets. That was just the cherry on top of a mountain made of broken boundaries and overdraft fees. It started when I was 22, and Vivian borrowed my credit card to buy a dress for her engagement party. A $600 temporary emergency. She said, "You work in healthcare and don't even dress up, so it's not like you'll notice." She promised to pay me back by the end of the month. She never did. Then it was Dad asking me to co-sign a loan so they could renovate their kitchen. "It's not even for us," he said. "It's for resale value. One day you'll inherit it." Spoiler. The house was refinanced twice, and they used the money to pay off Marcus's second failed business. I was working over 50 hours a week at the time, barely keeping my head above water. And somehow, I was still the family ATM, the dependable one, the nurse with a steady job, the unmarried one with no kids, the one who should pitch in because family supports each other. But it was never mutual. When I got pneumonia last winter from working through flu season and asked Mom to bring me soup, she said, "I can't, sweetheart. I promised Vivian I'd watch the kids while she gets her nails done. You understand?" I always understood. When Marcus crashed my car, the car I let him borrow while his was in the shop, my insurance premium doubled. He didn't even say sorry, just shrugged and said, "That's what insurance is for, right?" They drained me slowly, drip by drip, until I didn't even feel it anymore, like boiling a frog. I was the frog until the week before the Sunstone Islands trip. That was the real fuse. I was finishing a night shift when Vivian texted, "Can you move your payday up? Mom wants to book hotels, and we're short." "What payday?" I sent back. "Short for what?" she replied with a gif of hula dancers and the words "family trip" with a desert island, hibiscus, and dancing woman emoji. I called Mom. "Vivian said you need help with hotels?" I asked, trying to stay neutral. "Oh, sweetie, don't worry about that," she chirped. "Everything's already booked. We just needed a bit of a cushion to upgrade to business class. You know how bad Marcus's knees are?" "Wait, you're asking me to cover the upgrade for a trip I'm not even on?" Silence. Then the tone changed. "Look, Abigail, if you wanted to come, you could have said something, but the flights are $10,200 each. If you can't afford that, then maybe it's best you sit this one out. No hard feelings." She said it like I was a burden, like my very existence was an inconvenience to their luxury itinerary. I didn't argue. I just hung up, quiet, calm, numb. Then came the notification. My card was used for 4 business class tickets. That's when the numbness broke. All the sacrifices, all the times I canceled vacations, skipped dinners, and worked doubles. For what? So they could live it up while I rationed my meds and ate instant ramen 3 nights a week? That night, I sat at my desk staring at a spreadsheet of my finances. I had $327 in checking, $14,200 in student loans. My car was 6 years old with 119,000 miles on it. I hadn't been on a vacation since college. Meanwhile, Marcus was sipping first-class champagne with my name on the receipt, and Vivian had the audacity to text me from the check-in line with, "Why is nothing paid for?" The mask slipped. That's who they were, who they'd always been. I wasn't family. I was funding. I responded simply, "What you said?" I stayed behind. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened a travel site and booked my own trip. Nowhere fancy, but it was mine. All mine. No obligations, no guilt. The next morning, my dad showed up at my door like a scene from a Netflix thriller, still in his Hawaiian shirt, standing outside my apartment with a look that flickered between confusion, anger, and entitlement. He knocked. I didn't move. He knocked again, louder this time. "Abigail, open the door. We need to talk." I didn't. He stayed there for 7 minutes. I timed it. Then he left. That evening, I got a voicemail from Mom. "You really hurt your father today. He flew back early to speak to you after everything we've done for you." Done for me? I saved the message. Not for memories, but for evidence. I was done gaslighting myself. The next day, Vivian tried calling 5 times, then sent this gem. "Grow up. You can't punish the whole family over one misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. They used me, robbed me, and mocked me. And now that I said no, I was the bad guy. But I wasn't mad anymore. I was done. They thought silence meant surrender. That if they knocked hard enough, long enough, I'd cave just like always. But I had changed. Dad came back again the next day. This time with Mom. Same spot, same condo hallway, same tired manipulation on their faces. I didn't open the door. That night, the texts started flooding in from Vivian. "You're being completely unfair. We needed that upgrade. Marcus's knees swell when he flies economy. Do you realize what you've done? We couldn't even check in and had to downgrade and pay out of pocket. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Family is supposed to be there for each other." Family. that word again. I typed, deleted, and retyped. Then I sent one message. You mean like when I paid your rent for 8 months and you forgot to pay me back? No reply. Next came a barrage of calls from Mom, all ignored. Then a text from Dad. You need to grow up and stop playing victim. We had no choice. We didn't know the card would decline. You were supposed to help. You always do. I stared at that last line for a long time. You were supposed to help. Like I was a family employee whose absence constituted workplace misconduct. I didn't reply. But I wasn't done because they thought this was just a phase, a tantrum, that I'd get over it like I always did. But this time was different. This time I was angry. Not just emotionally hurt, but logistically, financially, and physically exhausted from years of propping up a system where I was the silent donor. So I did what they never expected. I sat down and wrote an invoice. $600 dress for Vivian's engagement, never repaid. $2,500 loan to Vivian and Marcus during his unemployment. $800 Dad's MRI deductible out of pocket. $420 groceries Mom forgot to send back. $1,200 X4 for business class tickets to the Sunstone Islands charged without consent. $150 interest and fees on late credit payments caused by the above. The total outstanding balance was $7,700. Then I emailed it to the family group chat. The subject line was reimbursement request for unauthorized charges and past support. The body said, per your belief that families should be there for each other, please see the attached breakdown of financial support I have extended over the past 24 months. As of July 1st, I will no longer be subsidizing family expenses. Full repayment expected within 30 business days. After that, I'll be submitting formal reports to my credit provider regarding unauthorized use of my financial credentials. No further financial interaction will be permitted moving forward. The group chat exploded. Vivian wrote, "Are you serious? What kind of person sends an invoice to their own family?" Mom wrote, "This is hurtful and unnecessary, Abigail. You're making things worse." Dad wrote, "We raised you better than this." That last line was the final spark. The truth was, they didn't raise me. I raised myself. Between extra shifts, unpaid debts, and being the default safety net for everyone else's irresponsibility, I replied with the facts. You didn't raise me. I was overwhelmed by the imbalance in our relationship, and I let you, but not anymore. Then I blocked Vivian. I left Dad and Mom unblocked out of sheer curiosity for how deep the delusion could go. Turns out, very deep. The next night they showed up in person again. I saw them through the peephole. Dad looked stiff. Mom clutched some papers, probably receipts and excuses. I opened the door. "You need to talk to us," Mom said, her voice trembling. "No, I really don't," I replied calmly. Dad stepped forward. "This stunt, freezing the credit, the invoice, it's spiteful, Abigail. We are your family." "And you used my name and card to buy flights," I snapped. "That's not family." That was a serious breach of trust. "We didn't think it'd be an issue," Mom cried. "You always help." "Because you trained me to," I cut in. "Since I was 22, you've treated me like a walking debit card." I helped because I was taught that saying no meant I was a bad daughter. But I'm done being the good daughter. "Don't talk to your mother like that," Dad growled. "Don't talk to me like I owe you something," I shot back. "I worked double shifts while Vivian and Marcus used my money to sip mimosas at the airport. I helped pay your hospital bills while you called me selfish behind my back." He stepped forward. "You think this makes you strong? Turning your back on family?" "No," I said, "but it makes me free." I closed the door in their faces, not slammed, just firm, deliberate, with finality. They didn't knock again. Later that night, I got a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was quiet, defeated. "I don't know who you are anymore." And for the first time in my life, I smiled at those words, because I wasn't the person they used to walk all over. After I closed the door on my father's face, the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was surgical, precise, final. No more banging on the door, no more guilt-laced voicemails, just a vacuum where their control used to live. For 2 days, nothing. Not a word from any of them. I half expected the cold shoulder to last forever. Then came the panic. It started with an email from my bank. Someone had attempted to use my old frozen credit card again to rent a car at the Sunstone Islands. Marcus, of course. I called the fraud department. They confirmed the attempted charge matched his ID information. "Would you like to press charges?" they asked. I didn't. Not yet. But I had them document everything and emailed the report to myself. I wrote, "Evidence in case they escalate," in the subject line. Later that night, I received a text from an unknown number. "We're stranded. Are you seriously going to leave your family like this after all we've done for you?" It was Vivian. I stared at it for a long time. What have they done for me? Really? Besides, take? I didn't reply, just screenshotted it and filed it in the new folder I'd made. Family patterns I won't repeat. A few days passed. Then something truly bizarre happened. I got a message on social media from a woman named Chloe. Yes, that Chloe, Marcus's ex-wife. We hadn't spoken in years. Last I heard, she moved across the country after their divorce and started over. She was always too smart for him, a lawyer with bite, ambition, and an allergy to nonsense. Her message was simple. "Hey, Abigail. Sorry to pop in like this, but you might want to talk." I replied, "Is this about Marcus?" She sent a thumbs up, then a file, a PDF. I hesitated for a second, then opened it. Inside were screenshots, bank transfers, a paper trail. Apparently, Marcus had been rerouting funds from a joint family account Mom and Dad gave him access to for emergencies. He was gambling again, crypto this time. High risk, low IQ. It got worse. In the screenshots, there were emails. One from Mom, begging Chloe not to report anything. Another from Dad. "We'll fix this. Abigail doesn't need to know." They knew. They all knew. They hid it from me because they were scared I'd cut them off before I actually did. The plane tickets were just the tip of the iceberg. They had been bleeding me dry to cover up Marcus's financial mess. I called Chloe immediately. She picked up on the second ring. "I wasn't sure you'd even want to talk," she said, "but I couldn't keep watching from the sidelines. I know how they used to treat you." I asked why she was sending this now. She paused, then said, "Because you're finally doing what I should have done years ago, walking away. And I thought you deserved to know the truth." That night, I printed every page, every transfer, every shady message. I stapled them together and walked them to my desk. And for the first time in years, I slept with the window open, a breeze in my room, no anxiety buzzing in my chest. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Dad. His voice was low, not angry, but strained. "Abigail, I don't know what to say. Your mother is sick with stress. Vivian's not eating. Marcus, he's not doing well. We made mistakes, sure, but you've made your point. I'm asking man to woman, can we please talk?" I typed one sentence and texted it back. "You're not entitled to grace you never earned." That week, I sent the invoice again, this time with Chloe's files attached as an addendum, supplemental evidence. I copied my Aunt Beatrice, and just for fun, I forwarded a redacted version to Dad's employer's HR department anonymously. A few days later, I got an alert. Dad was no longer listed on the company site. I didn't celebrate. I wasn't angry, just detached. Meanwhile, my life bloomed. I enrolled in therapy, in-person sessions. I took long walks, bought a bike, and cooked something new every weekend. I started seeing a man I met at the hospital cafeteria, David. Soft-spoken, curious, with no idea who my family was. And I told him about them, about me, about the version of myself I was finally building without them. One afternoon, David and I sat on my couch reviewing a local hiking trail. He pointed to one and smiled. "Want to go next weekend?" And for the first time in years, I didn't have to check my bank account. I just said yes. Weeks later, I got one last letter, handwritten, with no return address. I recognized the handwriting. It was Vivian's. 5 pages of manipulation masquerading as an apology. "We all make mistakes. You took it too far. Mom cries every day. You've turned your back on blood." At the end, she wrote, "We're family. Nothing changes that." And I realized she was right. We are family. That's what makes this even worse. Because it wasn't strangers who stole from me. It was the people who knew me best and still did it anyway. I folded the letter, placed it on top of the Chloe file, and locked them both in a drawer. The night before my birthday, I got a card in the mail. Simple, with no return address. Just 3 words written inside. "And I see you." It was from Chloe. And in that moment, I smiled, because someone finally did. It's been 6 months since I closed the door on my past. 6 months since I stopped apologizing for saying no. 6 months since I finally looked at myself in the mirror and didn't see a walking wallet, but a woman, whole and untethered. I used to think closure meant they'd come to me, heads bowed, tears in their eyes, offering apologies and redemption. But closure wasn't their job. It was mine. 3 weeks ago, I ran into my mother. It was a total accident. I was grabbing my morning espresso at a quiet downtown cafe, still half asleep. Earbuds in, hoodie up. Then her voice. "Abigail." I looked up, and there she was, smaller than I remembered. Not just in stature, but in presence, like time had shrunk her. She smiled like nothing ever happened, like we didn't go to war with silence and invoices. "Can we sit?" We sat. She talked first, rambling. No real apologies, just memory revision. "We were just trying to hold things together. We didn't realize how much you were carrying. If we could go back, maybe we'd do some things differently." No ownership, no mention of the fraud, no word about Marcus trying to use my credit again. No accountability for Vivian's venom. Just an emotional dress rehearsal where I was supposed to play the forgiving daughter, but I was done with that role. Then came the inevitable. "Do you hate us now?" I didn't flinch. "No," I said, "but I don't owe you anything anymore." She blinked. "But we're family." "That's not an argument," I replied. "That's an excuse." She reached into her purse and handed me an envelope, stood up, and said she hoped I'd come back to them someday. I told her calmly, "I already did, to tell you I'm not coming back." When she left, I opened the envelope. A check. $7,870. No note, no apology, just silence with a $sign. I didn't cash it immediately. I pinned it to my wall above my desk next to a quote that changed my life. "You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm." Vivian never reached out directly again, but Chloe did. It turns out that after sharing Marcus's financial lies with me, she sent the same packet of proof to a family law attorney in the state fraud office. Marcus is now under investigation for wire fraud and misappropriation of family funds. Because guess what? He didn't just use my card. He also skimmed from Mom and Dad's retirement fund. The same people who once told me he's just going through a rough patch. Poetic. When I asked Chloe why she'd helped, she said, "Because you deserve backup, and I couldn't sleep knowing they'd keep bleeding you." She wasn't just Marcus's ex anymore. She was a truth bomb with receipts. Dad lost his job quietly. The rumor is HR started digging after a certain anonymous packet arrived. He tried calling me once more. The voicemail said, "You've made your point, Abigail. You've embarrassed all of us, but family is not a transaction. You'll regret this." I didn't respond. Because here's the truth. Family is a transaction when it's always been one-sided. David and I were solid. He was there when I told him everything, the good, the ugly, the bank records. He didn't flinch, just held my hand and said, "I'm proud of you for not letting it turn you bitter." He's the first person in my life who never made me earn his love through sacrifice. We're planning to move in together this fall. A new place, bigger, brighter. And no, I didn't ask anyone for money. As for the check, I cashed it, then donated every cent to a scholarship fund for young nurses who support their families financially while in school. Because someone out there is me 5 years ago, breaking her back while her family pretends it's normal. I wanted her to know it's not, to know she's not alone. So where does that leave me? Stronger, quieter, wiser. Still a daughter, still a sister, but no longer their lifeline. I don't carry their weight anymore. I carry my own boundaries. I carry my peace, and I carry the memory of the day I finally said, "I am not your safety net. I am my own person." They didn't understand me for that, but I love myself for it. So here's what I leave behind. The guilt, the fear, the myth that being the good one means being the one who bleeds out for others. And here's what I keep. My life. It's not perfect, but it's mine. And this time, I'm not sharing it with anyone who doesn't treat me like I matter. I used to be the one they leaned on. Now, I stand tall on my own. And the door I closed that day, it's still shut. Only now the key is in my pocket and it's staying there.